Welcome back, my friends, to the InObscuria podcast, a podcast where we exhume obscure rock and punk and metal, and we put them in one of three categories: the lost, the forgotten, or the should-have-beens. My name is Kevin Williams, and I'm joined today by Mr. Robert Harrison.
How are you?
I'm okay. Yeah. How are you?
I'm glad I don't live in Texas.
You seem agitated.
I am very agitated.
Uh-oh.
I had a cup of coffee after 4 o'clock today, so that's why.
Living on the edge.
I'm wired, man!
Living on the
edge. Caffeine after 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You know, I'm not 20 years old anymore.
Let me drink some of this straight vodka here.
Yeah, I kind of need that now. That might have been a mistake on my part. I don't know. Normally, I'm not an afternoon coffee person, but it was cold today, if you didn't notice, but not as cold as some other places, and we have power, unlike a lot of those people in Texas.
I talked to a guy in Texas today for work, and he was in his truck with the heater on, sitting outside in his truck. He's like, this is the warmest place, my truck.
I've got a couple of good friends that have been traveling the country in their camper, big, nice camper. I mean, living the life. They work remotely, and they've been posting all these beautiful places, and they decided to go to the coast of Texas to camp on the beach for a couple of days.
Good time to do that.
Now they're stuck. They have no gas. They've run out of propane for their heater, and they're in a camper, which, you know, that's going to get extra cold in a camper. So it sucks. I mean, they could have been anywhere else in the country and just timed it a little off. So yeah, I've been through hurricanes and stuff like that, but cold is a lot more dangerous. So I feel bad. I got a number of friends that are suffering pretty bad. So hopefully by the time this comes out, that it's going to be 65 degrees there and nice and toasty.
Hopefully, yeah. This will come out a week later. So hopefully everybody's dug themselves
thawed out
wherever they were.
Yeah.
We've been pretty lucky. I mean, it's been a little cold here,
bullet.
but so we're in Atlanta, Georgia, and it's like bad weather in the U.S. is all around us. We've been pretty good overall. Yeah. So knock on
whatever this is, wood.
Whatever. Hopefully it's real wood.
This is old. Yeah. Okay. This is probably 20 years old. It's vintage.
Yeah. So in case you're wondering, we actually set up on a bar. Yeah. Which that's exactly what you should do for a podcast.
And do you know where this bar came from?
I have no idea where this bar came from.
So we have a lot of movie business people here in Atlanta now over the past 5-10 years. And so a friend of mine is a set decorator, and he acquired this from the set of a Tupac Shakur documentary or movie or something, which I've never seen. I need to sit down and track it down just to watch and see if this bar is actually in there. But I got it secondhand from him when he had to move.
How fitting.
Yeah, and it took 4 guys to move this thing up 2 flights of stairs. It's a beast. So yeah, we record a podcast on rock, punk, and metal on
Tupac's bar.
Tupac's bar.
We'll just have to add gangsta to our list of things we cover.
We'll run out of stuff eventually, and we'll just cross the line.
You're right. If we just can't come up with anything,
we'll add hip hop and rap.
The spirits start helping us.
I'm okay doing some Run DMC stuff on this show. Just for full disclosure, if there's going to be rap on this show, I want it to be Run DMC.
Well, I mean, Tupac's in the other world, so maybe we could reach out. Tupac could tell us.
We have to just work that into an episode. Yeah. Well, the Run DMC comes from high school days where my bitchin' Camaro I put 2 12-inch pile driver speakers in the back, and the Van Halen and other stuff just wasn't cutting it. And then I got a hold of a tape for the Run DMC Run Like Hell, and it had bass on some of the songs, and I just cruising through the parking lot, letting my windows rattle and the license plate rattle like a total idiot. But
nice. Well, after you embrace your redneck past, go listen to Pot of Thunder, Growing Up Rock, Slamfest Podcast, Decibel Geek, Metal Up Your Podcast, The Dummy Room, Podcast Rock City, Cobras and Fire, History Science Theater, State of Amorica, Rock Strikes 10, Potter Than Hell, Podcast, The Kiss Room, I Love It Loudcast, Ages of Rock, The Synaptic Empire, and don't forget about Monty's Rockcast. Come visit us at inobscuria.com. Like us, share us, recommend us. Please leave us an Apple Podcast review. All right, so last week I mentioned that I had a bit of a debacle. I was doing a little cleaning in the crypt, and I happened to knock over something, and we got
You had some spillage.
I had some spillage. Poor great-great-grandpappy's ashes went all over the place, so...
Yeah. A little dusty in there.
Yeah, but, the clanging sound gave us what we needed for last week's episode, and I think that was a good one. And so, of course, I had to go down and clean all of that up, and of course, what do? I have to organize all the bits and pieces, as you do, and get it back in there. And it was a true mess. I had to put everything... I'm a little bit anal retentive, so I had to put things in certain order, and then that got me thinking. I was doing all this sorting and organizing, and I'm like, we kind of do that with music. We tend to put things in boxes. The way to explain things is we love to organize and put things in categories, and and music's no different. When somebody asks you about a band, they usually say, what or who does it sound like? And you can either give them a generic term, oh, it's rock or punk metal. Very vague, right? Or you refer to another band that's similar. Well, it sounds like, the Foo Fighters on acid. I don't know. Or you can provide them with an
I know what that sounds like.
You do know what that sounds like, probably. Or you provide them with an oddly specific categorization like psychedelic operatic speed ska.
But then again, once too many bands are classified as operatic psychedelic speed ska, there's going to be a subgenre.
That's right. Then you have to have a
West
subgenre.
Coast operetta psychedelic speed ska, or South American version of that.
Exactly. So I was thinking this week we could talk about episode 66, genres from the Netherworld. So let's talk about those subgenres, those more explicit than you really want them to be, and you go, is this really a thing when you hear it? So that's what we're going to talk about today. Is it really a thing? I've gotten into some subgenres lately that I never thought I would get into, and I didn't know existed until last year. So we'll talk about some of those.
And you've gotten me into a couple of genres that I knew existed, but I just never put any time into that. And that led me to going to other genres too. So it's just weird how it's just a continuous journey. People like us that want to learn more, that we get tired of the same old, that we keep finding that family tree of rock that just keeps branching off and branching off.
And there's no doubt, if you Google music subgenres, you're going to get the most in heavy metal. Heavy metal has the most subgenres of any other broader category that's out there. You can just Google rock genres and you'll get everything. But if you dig further and further, metal has genres and subgenres that only have like 3 bands in them.
Yeah, but somebody somewhere decided, this needs to be its own thing.
Yeah.
You define it.
Now, sometimes I think bands use this as a bit of a PR piece, right? They create their own genre. Like the Misfits, when they came out, they were horror punk. Well, that is a genre now, but it's because the Misfits
There weren't that many horror punks back then.
Right. One of the things I thought I'd do is just look up to see, okay, what's out there in the world of list, because I like to do that. And I looked up at Desiree.com. I know everybody goes there the first thing when they wake up in the morning, that's where they go. And I found this list, 11 oddly specific music genres you didn't know existed. So let's see if you've heard of any of these, and more than likely, we may cover some today. All right, the first one is medieval folk rock. Have you ever listened to any medieval folk rock?
No, other than Monty Python's Holy Grail, that's the closest I've gotten to medieval anything.
Well, it's a thing, apparently. How about this one? I didn't know. I'd never heard of this one. Horror country. Did you know that was a thing?
Country horrors or horror country?
No, horror.
Oh, okay.
Horror. So this is a subgenre of country where the bands have sci-fi and horror topics.
Which, you know what, the more I get involved with anything to do with country music, the more I don't like it, because it just seems like they just sit back and copy everything else everybody does about 4 years later.
Well, I think back to, what was that Robert Rodriguez movie, From Dusk Till Dawn? And I remember they had like a Mexican band and they were playing kind of bluesy, country-ish. I guess that would be, maybe that's horror country. I don't know.
Western. Yeah, there's a difference between country and Western, as we learned from the Blues Brothers.
That's right. Both kinds of music. Okay, here's another one. We've covered it. Math rock.
Yes. Yeah, that's the
Episode 42. Go check it out.
Makes my brain hurt.
We'll tell you all about it. Episode 42. I'm sure you remember that one. All right, here's another one. Never heard of this one. Lowercase.
What?
So lowercase is a minimalist. It's mostly ambient sounds, basically recording normal objects. So you're making music and looping things out of normal objects like banging paper or something that's not a musical instrument.
Pink Floyd did that in 1972.
Yeah, apparently now it's a thing.
They were going to make an entire album. I just learned this about 6 months ago watching a documentary that I think before The Dark Side, they had decided they all were going to split up, the 4 of them, and do a part of the album each using household objects. And that's where the cash register stuff and things kind of evolved
from.
So
that would be considered lowercase.
Lowercase.
Whatever. Okay. There's also vaporwave.
I have heard of that.
Okay. Do you know what this is?
Yes, I know. I mean, how do you describe it? It's very ethereal, lightweight, electronic music.
Well, what I read was this was a rebirth of elevator music. So they sample a lot of 80s and 90s music and kind of reinterpret the elevator.
It's real chill, laid back. It's not. Yeah. I mean, elevator music wasn't always chill. It was just made with accordions and things like that.
Yeah, it was just a cheesy thing you heard in the grocery store of a modern song being played by some orchestra.
It typically didn't have vocals, too, so it was mostly instrumentals.
Right. How about vegan straight edge?
What does a vegan sound like?
Yeah, so music about animal rights, abstinence, and it's mostly punk and hip-hop. but it's got a very specific subject matter that they will sing about.
Vegan. What was the
vegan straight edge?
Okay, I've got some vegan friends that I have got to ask them about.
Well, they'd have to be straight edge. Straight edge meaning you don't drink, you don't smoke.
Okay, it's vegan and straight edge together.
Vegan
it's
straight
not,
edge.
It's not exclusively militant vegan. It's just
so no eating, no smoking.
No, they are definitely not
no
straight edge
doing anything.
They are bad influences on me. Let me just say that.
How about this one? Unblack metal.
Wouldn't that be
white metal?
White metal?
Yeah.
Or just light colors?
Unblack metal.
Rainbow metal? No, that's Dio.
Yeah. So that is Dio. And rainbow. Yeah. Unblack metal.
Unblack.
Is
it undead?
Black? No, it's black metal, but instead of you're a cult, you're singing about Christianity.
Oh, okay.
So the same Cookie Monster singing and fast beats, but it's to praise God.
Cookie Monsters. That's true. You nailed it. I mean, that's how exactly. If somebody asked you what does death metal sound like? Cookie Monster singing. And Cookie.
How about this one? German. We didn't cover this on our German episode. German reggae.
Oh, that's wrong.
So it's a thing.
That's wrong. They're German.
Apparently, there's a ton of reggae bands that are German guys doing their take on reggae.
UB40 weren't they British?
They were from the UK.
From the UK. Yep. Okay, so it migrated over the English Channel.
Apparently, it's been a thing since the 70s. Somehow, when reggae was starting to get big, it really resonated with the Germans. They're very Rasta in Germany.
I don't see them being laid back like Jamaicans, but okay.
All right. How about pirate metal?
Yes.
Oh, we've covered that.
Hell yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Episode 36. That was our 80s time capsule.
How long ago was that? 43. That was a year ago?
Oh, yeah. Well, right around a year.
We may have to revisit that this summer. It'll be time to kind of cruise back into that.
Yeah, we did it with first time we had Captain Ryan on.
Yeah. Okay, good.
As well.
That was good stuff.
Our Germany episode. Apparently, we should have covered German reggae. I didn't know.
While we're there.
How about this one? This sounds amazing. There is a genre called spy track.
Okay, so is it like James Bond? Spy?
It is music that sounds like it should be on a soundtrack to a spy movie.
Well, now that...
So take the James Bond
I have a
theme.
channel on it's an internet radio station called Secret Agent.
Oh, okay.
So if you look up the Secret Agent radio channel on the internet, however you look that up.
All right, the last one that's on this list is Black MIDI.
MIDI?
MIDI.
M-I-D-I?
Yeah. You know what MIDI is, right?
Yeah. It's
music interface, digital interface.
Yeah, that thing.
Instrument.
Yeah, I had the first word.
Yeah, so apparently this is music that is impossible for a human to play. So what they do is they put over...
Eruption guitar solo.
Well, they put over 90,000 notes into a single song. And so basically it's called Black MIDI because if you were to chart it out on music charts, there'd be so much black from all the notes that's why they're calling it black. So you can YouTube this. It's basically piano music, and what they do is they have hundreds of pianos playing at the same time, digitally programmed.
Right,
basically.
That's got to sound beautiful.
It's not good.
No, it's
not good at all.
No, it's called noise. That's when you have that much input coming out at the same time. It's noise.
Yes, but you can check it out if you'd so like to. So I thought we'd get into a little bit of our own here, and the way we're going to do this a little bit different. Robert is going to hit me with a few of these.
I brought some knowledge to this episode.
He's laying down
Normally,
some knowledge.
I bring the beer, but this time I brought the knowledge. Some knowledge.
All right.
A small amount.
Well, I thought we'd start out with a genre that I know everybody loves, and that is folk metal.
So this is what's playing during the jousting tournament. You're like, yeah!
Folk metal. Could there be such a thing? Oh, there is.
Sir Octavius the Knight is jousting.
And that's what it is. When I think folk, I think of San Francisco. And actually, this band happens to be from San Francisco. But this kind of folk is European, mostly European, old folk, medieval type of stuff mixed with metal. I mean, visually, I see that it goes together pretty well.
There better be a band named Trebuchet. If there's not, I'm going to start a medieval folk band just so I can name the band Trebuchet.
Yeah, so folk metal. So what they do is they basically take traditional European folk music and they use like folky instruments, so Celtic instruments like bagpipes, lutes, different types of percussion from traditional European folk music. Sometimes they use a lot of sounds and samples and just use keyboards because that's a whole lot cheaper than actually having the instruments up there. But some of these groups have violins and things on stage that you don't normally see in a metal show.
Those string instruments are crazy expensive. The lutes
and all that stuff.
Non-guitar stringed instruments. I know I've got a friend that makes those, and they're thousands and thousands of dollars. So yeah, I'd gladly play a keyboard instead of spending that much money.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, I think of a what do they call those events where they have the joust? What are the
Renaissance festivals
Renaissance
or fair?
festivals,
Renaissance fair, Renfests.
So you think basically of what people look like at a Renaissance festival, and you add metal to it, and that's what we're going to have. And the band I'm going to play, like I said, is from San Francisco. Usually they're European bands, but good to know we can have some here in the U.S. It started to explode in the 90s and really got big in the 2000s. And the band I'm going to talk about is a band called Hammers of Misfortune. Great name.
That's pretty good.
Great name.
Yes.
The reason I got onto this band was I was doing one of those searches in eMusic, which is, I don't think they exist anymore, but at the time it was like a cheaper version of iTunes. And so you could subscribe.
I'm sure they were bought out.
Yeah, I'm sure they were bought out. You could subscribe to it and you could get a ton of music for really basically
Apple's not going to
nothing.
stand for that. They bought them out pretty quick, I'm sure.
And so as I was back in the day when I was researching on eMusic, I found this band and I noticed that one of the bass player in this band was Janice Tanaka, who was in L7. So I was intrigued because it said...
I was going to say, I thought I heard that name before.
Yeah, she was in L7, she was in Fireball Ministry, she was in this band, and then she left this band to play for Pink. So she went to get paid.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say.
Because she probably didn't get paid doing this.
No. You work
you're
for
about
Pink,
to hear.
You make some bucks. In fact, I've probably seen her. I've seen a few videos of Pink. I mean, she's got some skills. It's not my type of
thing,
music,
but I respect her.
She's got some talent. Live, she puts on a hell of a show. Got to give her that.
Yeah, absolutely. So this band, Hammers of Misfortune, they've released 6 full-length albums from 2001 to 2016. I'm going to play something from their 2006 release called The Locust Years, and I love the title of this song. If I were in a folk metal band, I would want the title of my song to be the same, Trot Out the Dead.
Trot Out the Dead! right. So remind me, in the Monty Python movie, was the line that we're thinking of "Bring out your
Bring
dead"?
out your dead.
Oh, so it was "Bring
Ding.
out your dead." Not so they're not completely copying the Monty Python, but
pretty much the same thing.
Trot out your
Trot
dead.
out the dead.
Okay, maybe it was a copyright infringement thing or something like that.
Maybe they're like, we don't want to quite go over the edge with this.
So obviously the intro is very medieval. The lyrics were medieval. So this is similar to pirate metal, where they can throw in a few pirate sound effects, but the lyrics are what really makes this genre what it is. So different music genres have different reasons for sounding or being that way. And this is one of the reasons we discuss music and define it and subdivide it. So
we have to put things in boxes.
Yeah, so this is metal. You just listen to the music and not the intro. But then, and it's kind of punkish metal. It wasn't just your Nwabum.
Right.
Look at me throwing out references.
Oh, man.
Wow. Or Nwatum.
Nwatum?
I was paying attention. But I mean, other than that, I like it. Now, it would be interesting to listen to 2 or 3 more songs. One of the reasons I like it is because the whole time I'm thinking of Monty Python, which, for the nerds in the room here, we can laugh at that all day long. I don't know how deep I would go into this genre, but on the surface, it's kind of fun.
If you have European roots or lineage, then maybe this would appeal to you more than if you don't.
As pasty as you and I are, we definitely have some of that.
We definitely do. Yeah. May not know every bit of it, but we definitely do.
My family was kicked out of every single country in Europe. If you look at our family tree, seriously, it looks like we were one country after another, and they kept going, nope, get out, just get out, you Harrisons.
I'm Scottish on one side and Welsh on the other, but there's also some Scandinavian thrown in. I did one of those. Have you done any of those tests where you spit in a tube and you send it off and they come back with some results on where you're from?
No, I mean, many years ago when Ancestry.com came out, which is just all the Mormon church records for the most part, that's an amazing feat right there. Anyway.
You know what I found out?
What'd you find out?
I'm a white guy.
You're a white guy?
I'm a white dude.
I'm like, I'm not paying to find out that I'm a white dude from Europe. I know that. It's pretty obvious.
Even funnier, my wife did it. So I came back with all these countries.
Your wife is a white dude?
No. This is funny, though. I did it, and it came back with all these countries, right, where they could say you're a percentage this, percentage that, and it was kind of cool to see. Some of the things I thought I'm not, and then there was even some Russian and
really
something I had no clue. Now, it was a very small percentage, but still, I never heard anything like that. So my wife does it, because we get these kits from my sister for Christmas one year, and she does it, and literally it comes back, and it says, you are 100% Korean.
Thank you very much.
Her map was just one country highlighted.
A little dot.
She's like, thanks for that. I knew that.
Yeah, we met her. We know that.
All right, so we're going to move from folk metal into something that you sent to me. And so what is this?
All right, so the first one coming up here, you and I are both from the Deep South, and country music is kind of native to the South here, but Southern Appalachia and the South bluegrass music is pretty common.
Which I like better, personally.
Yeah, I will listen to bluegrass over country any day of the week.
Guys that play bluegrass are badass.
God, the speed.
That needs to be on a t-shirt.
Yeah, it
guys
really
that play, or I guess people that play bluegrass are badass. I don't want to leave out the girls.
I don't care what gender you are. If you play bluegrass, you're badass. For me, it's a personal thing. It's not that I love bluegrass so much. It's what it's associated with. Growing up, my family would drive from Pensacola, Florida, over to a small town called Defuniak Springs, where most of my relatives live. And it was about an hour and a half drive, and we'd stay there all day on Saturday, and then we would leave and drive home that night. And on the way home, in the middle of those two cities, about halfway, there was a town called Crestview, Florida. And there was a radio station. And this is back in the 70s, so we were riding in with the family station wagon. Mm-hmm. And my father would start trying to tune in that radio station way too soon, because he knew at 8 o'clock they would have a bluegrass show. And so
he wanted to hear that bluegrass.
So for 30 minutes, we would listen to static and him fooling around. That's exactly it. And back then, radios weren't digital. You literally had to tune it. Like, you had to finesse that knob
you had
a
to
little
really
bit.
get it just right, get that needle in just the right place.
And I was happy that, he found a station, but also was like, oh my God, just stop. Like, you knew at the point where you would be able to tune it in, but still for him, it was such excitement that he would start way too soon. Go figure that, my family is known for being impatient. So anyway, once he tuned it in, we would have a good half hour, 40 minutes of being able to listen to this bluegrass show. And once again, back then you didn't have the internet. You couldn't just tune into a bluegrass station anytime you wanted to. So it was kind of a special thing. And so my memories of my family traveling to the grandparents and the uncle's house and the amazing times on the farm and those types of things are intertwined with bluegrass music. And so I think that gave me a jump start to liking it all these years later. So I didn't listen to bluegrass at all in my teenage years, college years, until probably my mid-20s, where there's a college radio station here in Atlanta that had a bluegrass show on Sunday nights that I accidentally tuned into and started listening to, and then fell in love with that music at a more mature age. So anyway, you listen to the same stuff over and over again. You and I both like to gravitate to new things, and I came across something called thrash grass, and this blends two worlds that normally don't go together, but it really kind of works in a weird way. And the band that I came up with is called the Native Howl, and of all things, they're from Michigan. So you don't normally associate Michigan with bluegrass music, but what I'm learning from some friends that are from there's a lot of country in Michigan.
Oh yeah.
So we think of Detroit, places like that, Milwaukee,
well, even Illinois,
Wisconsin.
Illinois. I mean, you've got, because Kentucky's right there. So even like in Chicago, there are people that are really into bluegrass and country because Kentucky's so close.
Yeah, it's more universal these days than it was originally. It was very niche. I mean, mountain folk basically listen to bluegrass. Yeah. And it's part of country music and eventually part of rock and roll as it evolved over the years. You had your blues, country, and all these genres go into it. So
rock and roll is basically R&B.
A blend.
It's a blend of blues and a blend
a little
of
this, a little
bluegrass
that,
and a blend of country.
Came up with rock and roll and gave that gift.
So this is not the stuff that's been coming out since the 90s where there's a bluegrass group and they'll cover like there's an AC/DC all bluegrass album.
Yeah, that was all the rage for a while there.
That was a big thing.
Picking on
whatever.
It was a series picking on AC/DC, picking on Metallica.
Those
were actual bluegrass bands. So these guys take it and just make it heavy. And so they're not doing covers, although the band that I'm talking about does have a few covers, but they're doing their own original music with bluegrass instruments, but in more of a thrash metal style. So this band, the song that I've picked out for them is called Thunderhead. They've got a number of them. They have some Metallica covers that you can listen to on your own, but once again, that's not what we're going for. We're going for some of their original music. They've been around since 2013, 2012, depending on what you read, but they've got about 4 albums out. They're still active as far as everybody else is right now. So you can look them up. They're all over the internets, but their videos are entertaining. And this dude, the singer, looks like, somebody you would see in a thrash metal band. And he's got that, he looks like Zakk Wylde, like somebody you wouldn't want to run into in a dark alley kind of look, but probably a real nice guy to hang out and have a beer with.
For people far and wide. 'cause these horsemen ride with a pistol on each side. With heads like thunder, they'll rob you of your pride. We'll have no mercy for people far and wide. We horsemen ride with a pistol on each side. With heads like thunder, we'll rob you of your pride. We'll have no mercy for people far and wide.
All right, normally I would come back after a song and tell you if I liked it or didn't like it, but obviously I picked the song out, so I like it. So you tell me, what'd you think?
So I don't know that I would seek this out and listen to a whole album, but I had this image in my head, which I would love to see this in, which is them telling a booking agent that they are a bluegrass band, and to see them get booked at somewhere like a state fair.
Or American Legion Hall.
Or well, I'm thinking state fair where you're eating corn dogs and all of a sudden you've got all these country bands and whatnot going on. It's
Lee Greenwood.
It's background noise, and then these guys get on and here's some bluegrass for you.
Give it up.
And then that comes on. I'd
be
throwing
the cotton candy
and the corn dogs in the air. Yeah, I would go crazy for this. I don't know that I would seek it out and listen to it on my own, but I enjoyed it, and they had all the elements. The only thing that I didn't hear that I wanted to hear was they did do a breakdown section, which is very typical when your fast thrash songs usually have a breakdown section where you can groove a little bit, and they did that at the end. But I never heard the double kick in. I was kind of hoping for some double kick in there. And then the bass was a very country bass. I was kind of hoping he would open it up a little bit. It was a boom, 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 boom.
Yeah. Well, now I've got to go listen to some of their other songs and look for the double bass and see if they do. Or there's a few other bands.
Maybe they don't do it, but if they're calling themselves thrash grass, like if you don't have the double kick, you're missing something.
No, I agree. We need to send them a note. No, they actually I'm pretty sure they coined the phrase thrash grass because they named an album Thrash Grass back in 2017.
That's the album that this came from.
Yeah, so
I looked it up.
They probably coined that phrase themselves, or they took ownership of it, and it became more widely known because it is perfect. It describes it pretty close to it. It's very thrashy.
Well, I'm sure there are other bands who picked up on this. If they were the first, I'm sure there's others by now.
Yeah.
I did look it up, and they do have in 2019, they released a medley, which is the other thing I was thinking about as I was hearing this. I always think of, with bluegrass, is Oh Brother Where Art Thou, right? That's the first thing you think of is that old movie. And they do have a cover medley song of Harvester of Constant Sorrow.
And I listened to that too. Like I said, I didn't want to use that because we've talked about the bluegrass covers.
Right.
But they do blend it. It's not just a cover.
So a Metallica...
Oh Brother Where Art Thou.
Brother,
I can't remember the original
mashup.
artist that did that. But it's a mashup that they actually recorded or played. It's not just electronic mashup.
The other thing I saw on here was that even though they're not traditional bluegrass, they were on the bluegrass charts for 8 weeks, peaking at number 4.
Really?
That's pretty impressive.
That's
for
not bad.
A non-traditional bluegrass band.
But once again, what we said at the very beginning, bluegrass musicians are bad ass. They're like the jazz musicians where it's a different part of your brain. Playing that fast on an electric guitar, I can understand that. But when you move to an acoustic or a banjo, those strings will cut through your fingers after 20 minutes. Playing that fast and that much accuracy on an acoustic, it's amazing.
Just to be able to do the right hand technique where rhythmically you're not tripping all over yourself, to be exact, where it's syncopated. It's almost like playing drums in a way with your fingers.
Be right on the beat. And there's no distortion or effects to hide behind. None. I mean, it's just clean, you and that acoustic guitar. I know, I've played acoustic guitar. I know how hard that is. It's rough on your fingers.
Yeah, so mad respect for these guys. But we're going to move into something else. I think we should move into a genre that you might like, but you might not realize it's out there. And this is
one of my favorite genres.
Yeah, this is a mostly European genre as well. I'm going there a lot in this episode, but this is called black gaze.
Like shoegaze, but black gaze. Oh, you have my attention, sir.
All right, so
I would like to subscribe to your newsletter.
there you go. So this is I'm going to play a Norwegian band who's really responsible for influencing this movement. They don't consider themselves part of it, but there would be no movement called Black Gaze without this band called Ulver, and we're going to hear some Ulver. But basically, it is just that, is a fusion of black metal and shoegaze.
Ooh.
Why don't you describe shoegaze? Because I think everybody has a different interpretation of it.
Yeah.
But I think of UK bands when I think of shoegaze for the most part.
Yeah,
kind of 90s UK.
So Catherine
droney.
Wheel. Catherine Wheel's one of the examples you can just throw out there. Her black metallic. So your skin is black metallic. It's a 4 or 5 minute long song. It's loud. It's just really intense in parts.
It can get real droney though,
real
right?
Droney, and that's kind of the key to it.
Yeah.
Is shoegaze is very droney,
some noise,
and just a moody song where you just want to stare at your shoes.
Which is why they call it shoegaze, because these guys didn't move around.
Yeah, they didn't. It wasn't a show. It was just, I'm going to play my song and screw you if you want to listen.
Mainly a 90s,
mostly
UK
late
thing.
90s. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a fusion of that with black metal, and if you don't know what black metal is, the phrase was coined by Venom, which was a Nawabum band called Venom, and they are historically known as not being that great on their instruments, but they had a great look, and they were, sung about Satan and the occult and everything just black, and they had an album called Black Metal, and it really caught on with the Europeans, and they said, we're going to take that, and that's going to be a genre. So this is that Satan, occult, stereotypical metal, the bands that have the logos that you can't read, right? Looks like exactly what Tark was talking about when he was here a few weeks ago. But it's those bands that
the lettering looks like
a bunch of vines
language.
or scritchy scratch, and you don't know what the name
is. There a font? Is there actual black metal font that they use, or is it just all interpretive?
I think what they do is they write down the name of the band, and then they just put as many lines through it as they can, and whatever happens, that's what it is.
It's a code.
It's redacted. Okay, so half of the time with this music, the vocals are delivered in a very angelic kind of a coo, which is that shoegaze, and then the other half of the time they do that really raw shriek, throaty shriek that is black metal. And the most famous band in this genre is actually a U.S. band, Deaf Heaven. So you can go look up Deaf Heaven if you want. I'm not going to play for them because I don't own any Deaf Heaven, but I do own Ulver, and again, they're known as one of the bands that's really influenced this whole thing. Now, Ulver, they're all over the place. They're very experimental, kind of electronica. They started off, though, as a black metal band. So there are two bands that got really ethereal and out there and experimental. Ulver's one, and the other one is Anathema. And I've talked about Anathema before.
Anathema, yes.
Yeah, but they're more of a prog group now, even though their music's really kind of droney, and so they could sort of be considered this as well. But they were a black metal band. Ulver was a black metal band, and somehow over time they transitioned into what they are now. Ulver has 12 full lengths from 95 to 2020, and they've been nominated for 2 Norwegian Grammys. A lot of black metal in Norway, which makes sense why this band's Norwegian.
Yeah.
So let's hear from Ulver. Enjoy a little black
How do you spell it?
Ulver?
O-L-V-E-R?
No, U-L-V-E-R.
Ulver.
Ulver.
Ulver. Okay,
I'm probably mispronouncing.
No, I'm just making sure.
It's Norwegian for
those
wolf,
following along
I
at
believe.
home.
I believe it means wolf.
Wolf. Okay, got it.
So here we go. Here's a song called February 2010. I haven't do the conversion in my head. It's MMX. That's 2010, right?
Yes. Sorry.
We'll go with that.
Yeah.
Takes place in the pillory, the life stage.
liked it. And I think the primary difference between that and just shoegaze was the tempo. It just seemed really, it was kind of a faster tempo where a lot of shoegaze is that halftime, just real slower, laid back. And that there's varying degrees of examples between all of that. But just if I had to compare the two, that would really be it. The vocals, you still would hear vocals similar to that in a lot of shoegaze music. It didn't have to be melodic.
Yeah, and it had just the right amount of little bits of noise that would be thrown in.
Exactly. Layers and layers.
Layers of stuff.
Yeah, typical shoegaze has lots of layers.
Sheets of
sound.
Noise, kind of. And there was that in that song. I didn't hear that much black metal, but like I said, they had moved, by the time this came out, they had really moved away from that. So they were really the influencer of the genre. I just didn't happen to own any of the bands that were in the genre, but I felt like I was good enough to play the influencer of the genre. And
a lot of these really obscure genres, one little thing will make somebody think of something different and they go, that's it. It's not that that thing is prevalent through all of their music, but one or two songs may kind of sound like this and they go, oh, that's black gaze. What'd you call it? Black metal gaze? Black gaze?
Yeah, black gaze.
Black gaze.
The next genre is yours, sir. So here's another one that I was not aware of. Lay it on me.
Okay, so this one is kind of what I was just referring to, where it's not overwhelming what this particular subgenre is. It's really subtle. And so there's just some elements in this that made somebody think of it. And it's called surf goth, but also beach goth. So you know what surf music is? Beach Boys, Dick Dale, all that good stuff. Beach music, all of that. But then you put kind of a darker element to it, a darker tone. And this particular band's called Wavves, but it's got two V's.
Wavves.
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 They've been around 2008 probably, and they've put out 4 or 5 albums. They haven't been very active the past few years, but none of us have, let's just say. But once again, you're going to hear this, and it's got just a little bit of punk element, a little bit of alternative elements, but the lyrics will be the big driver towards just a little bit darker themes. And so
I think I've heard this band on a station that my wife listens to, which is Alt Nation.
Yeah.
I believe I've heard this band. I just thought they were an indie band.
Yeah.
They kind of lump everything as indie rock.
They've got some of their songs that just get a little bit darker at the same time sounding a little more surfer, beachy. Yeah.
All
so
right.
Don't expect the Beach Boys, nothing like that. But if you listen, you'll hear some of the elements. And so if you watch the video for this song, it's called King of the Beach. And it's kind of tongue in cheek, but it's on a beach. And so you'll see why they're called surf goth.
Let the sun from my eyes, let it burn my back, let it sear through my thighs, I'll feel wide, wide open. Let the sun burn my eyes, let it burn my back,
So as I was mentioning, it's not extremely gothy, but some of their other songs have some deeper undertones to the subject matter and the videos and things like that. You get a little bit of that.
Yeah, I would probably never throw goth in there, but I did look up that they actually have a song called Surf Goth.
Yeah, and once again, they may have coined that, or somebody said, let's just call it that.
But they reminded me of, and I never really knew what to call the genre, they reminded me of two bands that I used to listen to that were kind of a mid to late 90s. They were punk, but they weren't punk, and I'm talking about a band called Sebadoh and a band called Pavement, and I used to listen to them quite a bit.
Pavement was, much weirder than punk. Some of their songs were slower, but they had that attitude.
I'm sure they have a genre for them, I just don't know what it is, but that's what this band kind of reminded me. I really dug it. I really like this band.
Well, let me back up. The reason I got into this a little bit, it's not like, I love this. It was just, this is different. This all stems from our goth episode. So when we've talked about how we had that episode, I didn't listen to goth music at all. I knew about it, but it just wasn't in my wheelhouse. And it's just been a good time for me to change it up a little bit. So I started listening to traditional old school goth music. And I still...
Did you do Pandora or something?
Whatever. I don't know. Whatever.
Some kind of streaming.
Yeah, I do the Sirius XM, and then they bought Pandora, so you can just click on a particular artist and they'll play that channel.
Oh, okay.
And of course, with their very limited selections, you'll get the hits. It doesn't go very deep, but still, when you're new to something, that's all you want is to give me the hits right now. And so after I listened to the hits, let's say Bauhaus, Sisters of Mercy, all the ones that we talked about on that episode as being the influencers, somebody sent me a link to Witch House.
Okay.
So that is house music. When you think of house music, you go to a club,
right?
Different elements to house music, but it was nothing that I liked. I just don't listen to that. It's background music when you go out to bars, when we used to go out to bars. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden, this was a darker version of that, just like horror punk, and
slightly darker edge.
Slightly darker
piques your
edge,
interest a little bit more.
It was very fitting for a horror movie soundtrack, and the videos there's some amazing, beautiful, gothy videos to this music, and it just suckered me in. And so for the first time in my life, I found myself listening to this electronic type music, house music that's Witch House, and it just came out of nowhere. So it's the wintertime, it's just got that vibe right now with there's kind of a plague going around the world type thing. So
how does it come around to surf goth?
So just the word goth,
just the word goth,
everything. Because once again,
you just went down a rabbit hole.
It influenced me to start making a gothic architecture inspired sculpture that I've worked off and on for the past couple of months, and then that led me to this, where boom, add the word surf in front of it, and it just takes in a different direction. So you have no idea what you started, man.
I love it though, man. I love it.
Yeah, you lit that fire.
That's great. Well, I'm glad you're mentioning what was it? Witch House. Witch House. I'm glad you're mentioning electronic music, because I said earlier in the episode that I've really been getting into some genres that I didn't know I was going to like.
Yeah.
And the one that I've really been getting into and bought quite a few albums of is synthwave.
Okay.
Are you familiar with synthwave?
As a matter of fact, one of my YouTube rabbit holes in the past couple of weeks was mostly retro synthwave, so 80s.
Well, that's what it is.
Dark. Okay.
So
it's
reinterpretation.
I didn't think there was a revival, but the old stuff.
Yeah, so it's a reinterpretation of all that awesome kind of sci-fi keyboard music that was in a lot of the 80s horror movies and just movies in general. I mean, everything in the 80s had that kind of electronic background. They replaced the traditional orchestrations that were in movies before that with more keyboard music. And this essentially what this is it's a reinterpretation, new music being played like it's an 80s soundtrack. So you get a lot of that analog keyboard sound that I love.
Oh,
actually.
yeah.
And I have just really gotten into it. I'm not going to play it here today because we are a rock and punk and metal podcast. I don't know that it would fit.
That's why, and see, the Witch House stuff, I thought about it for a second. I'm like, no, it's just not in our genre. I mean, it's not in our themes. So I like it. We talk about it, but I had to come up with some other genres to play today. But the synthwave, I have to send you a link on YouTube. I found like a 3-hour compilation of synthwave, but during each song, it plays or it shows photos from concerts of that band. And these are groups I've never seen before, but the hair, the outfits and things like that, and the instruments, the old Korgs and the instruments on stage, like people are playing instruments to make this electronic music. It's not somebody sitting in
all the vintage
a studio
analog keyboards.
They are making that music.
Yeah, there's a ton of groups all over the world, and if anybody's interested in checking it out, there's a great movie that came out. It's a documentary. It's got a little bit of acting in it, but it's mostly a documentary. It's called Rise of the Synths, and it came out, I think, last year. So you might be able to find it on YouTube. I'm not sure. You can certainly go order it, probably on Netflix or something, but Rise of the Synths, check it out. If you're interested at all in 80s style keyboard music, that's really cool. It's not Yanni. It's really
New
really
age.
cool.
It's not new age.
It's not new age. All right, I'm going to completely go in another place for the next genre that we're going to talk
So
about.
you just teased us with that.
Yeah,
Oh,
tease you with that. That's not where we're going. No, we're going to talk about something that more people know about this one probably than any others we're going to talk about today, and this is called psychobilly.
I've heard of that too.
All right, psychobilly. Wow. So it's also called horrorbilly. It's also called punkabilly, but it's that gritty, traditional 50s style rock and roll mixed with a little punk, a little ska, and very taboo themes. So it could be anything from kind of that horror genre theme or sci-fi, or what I like to call it is tattoo rock. So it's basically what I want to hear. If I go into a tattoo parlor, this is what better be playing.
Well, see, I picture this is what Rob Zombie listens to in his car, in his Dragula.
Exactly, on his way to get a tattoo.
And
when he gets into the tattoo shop, this is what they're going to be playing.
As he's walking through the door.
And this is the inspiration for all those old American-style tattoos that people like to get now. So those traditional themes that were in, that's exactly what this music sounds like to me. So some of the bands that...
sounds like a tattoo.
Sounds like a tattoo. At least in my head. This is my own phrase. Yeah. But you think about the Cramps did it in the early 80s, so they really were the first ones to mix kind of rockabilly with punk, and they were scary at the same time. People were actually scared of them. And then in the 90s, Reverend Horton Heat kind of helped bring this sound back, and he had quite a bit of hits with this, but he went all over the place. He did a little swing, he did a little psychobilly, but there are other bands. One that I saw live called Tiger Army. A lot of people might be familiar with Tiger Army. There's another one called the Horror Pops. A lot of times these bands have a stand-up bass, so they got that old rockabilly kind of thing. Bass. So the band I'm going to play is actually a band that you and I played with. What? And I don't know if you're going to remember this band. This band is called Johnny Prophet. You remember playing with this band?
I kind of remember the name, but no, you have to give me some more info.
Yeah, let me give you some more info. So when we were in Big Jack Pneumatic, we used to play a place up north called the North River Tavern.
Oh, I remember this? I remember the ladies that were the servers at the North River Tavern. Yes.
So this was a club that they always had great music. It was a little further away than maybe we would have liked to go. It was way up in the suburbs. But we used to play there, and we played there when we were a 3-piece, and I played drums, and we also played there when we were a 4-piece, and I was playing bass. So
I remember the backstage was the van. They didn't have a backstage, so we'd go hang out in the van, and then
those were the booking agents. Remember the booking agents? I forget their names, but it was a couple, and that was their van, and we'd go hang out with them.
Well, yeah, between their van and our van, we had a pretty good sized dressing room.
Yeah. So anyway, this band was called Johnny Prophet. I believe we only played with them one time. I got their CD, which was called Get You Some, and I'm going to play a song called Three Badass Cats, which puts them firmly in the psychobilly genre.
If you use the word cat.
And then we're going to come back and talk about, I believe, now this is just me going on my sketchy memory, but this might be where you met your first crazy Asian girlfriend.
Oh my God.
So we'll talk about her when we get back. Let's listen to Three Badass Cats.
Yeah.
Come ready to blow load. Three badass cats. 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 See girls love to sin.
3 badass cats. 3 badass cats. 3 badass cats. 3 badass cats.
Go, cat, go! Run hell while he takes a vacation. 3 badass cats. Badass cats. Badass cats. Badass cats. Yeah!
They had a horn section.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that.
No, that's, I mean, once again, it's not the extreme example of just like all these other songs where it's subtle. So it's not horrific or psychotic, but it's just heavier than traditional rockabilly. A little more distortion.
Right. And the themes are a little more.
In the themes, yeah. In the lyrics. A
little more tattooy.
That's where a lot of that subgenre-ish comes out.
Yeah. Now, did I have the right name of the place? I'm second guessing the name.
No. I think that's, but I'm pretty sure you have the wrong.
That was the wrong
crazy,
date.
Crazy Asian.
That's when we didn't meet her that time?
No, because you know where we met her was the night of my 30th birthday at McDuff's Irish Pub.
She was there.
She was there.
Okay.
Because my 30th birthday came first. Then we met her at that, she was there at that show.
She was there at that show because she lived up there.
Yes, exactly. Right. That's one reason I broke up with her, because she was geographically undesirable.
Well, let's just talk about her. So tell us about this
so I met this young lady who was
lady.
named Susan. The night of my 30th birthday, my friends, including Kevin, took me out for a night on the town. And when I say a night on the town, it was just drunken debauchery. I mean, hours and hours. And we ended up at our home base, which was a place called McDuff's Irish Pub. They knew us by name. Half the time we did get charged for what we drank. It was just home. It was our version of Cheers.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're there. It's got to be 2:00 in the morning. I am just hammered because you guys have been giving me shots. And I don't normally do shots, so I'd been doing shots. And then at some point, things started to slow down a little bit. So you or my friend Jim or somebody else said, "Oh, look at that entire table full of attractive young ladies sitting over there. Why don't you, Robert, who is trash, why don't you go over there and sit down and just start talking to them?" Which obviously is just sending me into the lion's den to get eaten alive. And of course I said,
and which
sure.
is what you did.
And I did. And I walked over there and just sat down at their table with like 6 nice looking young ladies who all immediately looked at me like, who the hell are you? But lo and behold, I hit it off with one of them. Her name was Susan. That's all I remembered. And I apparently gave her my email. And that's what you did back then. And that was on a Saturday night. And I guess Monday, I get an email from this person named Susan going, "Hey, I had a good time talking to you, blah, blah, blah." So therefore, I had to call Kevin and go, "Hey, man, who is this? What does she look like? She wants to go out with me." And you looked at me and you're like, "She's cute. Don't worry about it."
Yeah.
And so I was like, "Oh, okay." And we went out and we started dating. She was, wow. I mean, something else. Had a lot of fun, but she liked to talk. And she would talk and talk and talk and talk and talk to the point where she got a song written about her called Talk to Me.
Talk to Me.
And so it inspired that. And then years later, years after we had broken up, probably 4 or 5 years, I was waking up listening to the radio, and it was one of these morning shows, and they have wacky gimmicks and games, and they were doing kind of a Survivor type game where they were putting these people together in a storefront in a mall to live together.
In the middle of the mall, right?
No, in a store, like a vacant store.
Okay.
But they were going to live together in this vacant store for a week.
And you could walk by and watch
You
them.
could watch by.
They couldn't leave.
They couldn't leave,
It
or
was
they
like
lost.
Big Brother is what it was.
Exactly. Oh, Big
It was like a
Brother.
lock-in, so they couldn't leave. They had to live in a store for as long as they could. Whoever lasted the longest
So this
wins.
is probably 2005-ish.
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking to the contestants, and this young lady comes on the radio, and they start talking to her, and I recognize her voice. They didn't say her name yet, and I'm like, what the? Oh my God! And the DJ, after talking to her for just a couple of minutes, goes, "Hey, yeah, we're just going to call you Riddle and Sue," because she just talked and talked and talked, and it was
she wouldn't
just
shut up.
She wouldn't shut up. I mean, she would just talk and talk. So yeah, that was the young lady, but she was a lot of fun. So bless her heart.
How long did Riddle and Sue last on the show? Do you remember?
I no clue. That was so long ago.
Yeah,
but
that was a long
It was
time ago.
painful to listen to her. That's how much she talked.
And it wasn't a pleasant sounding voice, from what I remember.
No.
It was a little annoying.
No, there are
whiny.
some people that, just read the phone book, and I'll be perfectly happy sitting in the room with you, but it was really shrill and whiny. Yeah, it was not what I needed. Nobody. Bless her heart, once again.
Well, speaking of Asians that make weird sounds with their voices, let's transition into your next one.
Wow. What a segue. All right, so this band, we're going to need some assistance with the pronunciation of their name. And you can go one way, and it sounds like a complete ripoff of a very famous band. You can go another way, and you just kind of contort yourself trying to pronounce it. But it's only 2 letters, the H-U. So you can go The Who.
Or-
that's ballsy to name your band The Who. Or the He or He.
Or is it I think it's
So I think I agree with you because I've watched several videos. And let me tell you, the guys in this band and everybody else in these videos, every single one of them, I would hate to run into them or hate to piss them off because they look like they could just snap my neck in a heartbeat. Just badasses. Every single one of these guys.
And what is this genre called, sir?
Oh, that's right. We didn't say that. So this is Mongolian throat metal.
I love
metal.
it.
And-
Mongolian throat metal.
And so they're not as obscure as they would have been a year or two ago. They were really getting some mainstream notoriety. I know because a lot of my friends were
It's a
talking about
YouTube
them.
thing, right?
It was a
phenomenon?
YouTube,
Yeah.
and they started touring, and they had plans to come here to Atlanta, and then the COVID thing hit. So I actually would like to go see them because it looks like a hell of a show.
Yeah.
But this band, they combine metal with some traditional instruments.
Probably from Mongolia.
Yeah, so you guessed that right. They are from Mongolia. But they're inspired by the Hunnu, Hunnu, I'm going to butcher all this, which is an ancient Turkic Mongol empire known as Xiongnu in Western culture. Of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. We all know about
Can we just
that.
say Genghis Khan?
Genghis
Because that's
God.
really what it is,
Yeah.
right?
So they're singing in traditional Mongolian language, but the music is very recognizable metal music. So the style of singing is very unique. The lyrics, if you watch their videos on YouTube, it has translation. And it's very deep. I mean, the stuff they sing about is pretty cool. But if you don't have the translation, you don't know what the hell he's saying. But in addition to a foreign language, his style of throat singing, and I'm not even going to try to imitate
I was going
it.
to say, can you tell me exactly what
No.
throat singing is?
No,
And
I
can
mean-
you please tell?
It sounds like it's exactly. You do it perfect. It's like a vocal didgeridoo.
Yeah, exactly.
So you got a didgeridoo stuck in your
I
throat.
have a future. Yeah. All you have to do is take a sip of coffee early in the morning.
You got that Barry White, growly, but it's just really interesting. And I don't know, as far as when you say a genre, typically that means multiple bands. And I don't know, I haven't done enough research to find any other Mongolian throat metal bands out there, but
I bet there are.
it's relatively new, so maybe there are some other bands that maybe not from Mongolia, but are playing that style of music with traditional lyrics or traditional languages. So maybe we can do some more research into that and find out. All right, so the song that we picked out, in order to be a little more accessible to those of us that don't know what the hell they're saying, I did pick a cover for this one, and so this is a Metallica cover that you can see if you can recognize it.
Niki, Nini, Boruasochen. Kiss me quick, Ulver SG. Johnny to the Gandosen, Hotel Home, Life to Chimay. Hazel Hoyt, Jinshan dabei. Und ich Johnny to Zellen, Model. Johnny Sweet und Chimay. To the Zack to Chimay. Und in der Unitunde. Und ich gebe schon
That doesn't get your blood flowing. I don't know what will. You're just dead.
And if you watch the YouTube video for it, it's even better.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. And they're very professional videos. These are not half-assed, let's just go out in the parking lot and shoot a video. I mean, there's one with their own motorcycles looking like biker dudes, and the next, they're in their traditional garb.
Yeah, like Mongolian warrior outfits.
Yeah, and so it just goes of all different directions. But that's badass.
So check this out, because apparently, so I looked this up, they're a YouTube sensation. In 2018, they had over 100 million views.
Damn.
I mean, that's just crazy. And so this reminds me, I don't know if you remember when we did one of our Japanese episodes, we talked about a band called Ninja Nasu, who the same thing. They had all of these hits. And remember we did Shabadabadia?
Yes.
Remember that
Yes,
song?
Shabadabadia.
Yeah. So this really reminded me, it put me right back into that place of discovering this new thing. Now, obviously this is a song we know, but it makes me want to go and dig into their own music, because it's just, I love when they can be heavy yet traditional, and I don't have to understand the words. I'm okay with that.
Well, once again, that's why I picked that song out as a gateway song. The other songs that aren't covers still just reach out and grab you and pull you in. And I know there's a lot of people, including Gene Simmons, talks about how rock is dead, and I kind of agree in a lot of places. But then you find people or bands like this, once again, 100 million views, that they've just figured out a way to do it in a new way, but yet stay true to the rock and metal roots.
And it looks like the 100 million views weren't on this cover, so it's not a Metallica thing. Their 100 million views was on a song they had called Wolf Totem. Number one on Billboard's Hard Rock Digital Song Sales in 2019 as well. And that's amazing.
And they've been on the top of the Mongolian charts for like ever. No,
Well,
I don't know about that.
Well, it does say they're the first Mongolian musical act ever to top a Billboard chart, which does make sense. And also it says here that they have a second album coming. So
I hope a tour, because like I said, they were scheduled to come through
go
Atlanta.
See
I will go see that because with the costumes, the visuals, and they've got some personalities. I think that means a lot.
This is in my zone because it's that whole, I love the Japanese metal.
Yep.
I can totally get into this. I have no problem with this. I thought about playing some Chinese metal, but we'll save that for another episode. This is very close.
Same part of the world.
Yeah. Well, the Mongolians conquered all of them at one point in time. So
and then they had enough. They're like, you know what? We're going to just hang it over here.
I was thinking about ending with pirate metal, but we've done that.
Yeah.
So what could I get that was close, that was celebrating the conquest that we've had today and also celebrating drinking? And I found the perfect genre. How about some Viking metal?
Yes. Yes, please.
This is a thing. Now, a lot of the Viking metal that I looked up was very heavy topics. It's very, we're going to slice you to bits and we're going to conquest you.
Vikings didn't joke around a whole lot. I mean, they like to party, but...
But I found this one band. So there's a band from Finland. And so any band that's in the Scandinavian area, they can be considered Vikings, okay? So I found this band called Korpiklaani, who... Korpiklaani.
Okay.
I could be saying it totally wrong. Who knows?
I don't know how to talk. I know how to talk a pirate, but not a Viking.
I don't know Finnish. I really don't.
I don't know Viking.
I haven't studied it yet. But, this is Nordic kind of black metal folk music mixed together. Norse can I say that?
Norse mythology.
That's a hard one. Paganism, all the things that make a good Viking metal band, and they basically sing about drinking. So they're they're the fun Viking band.
Oh, okay, so these guys are cool.
So there are a bunch of serious ones that a lot of people know that are just very
burn and pillage.
Yeah. So Korpiklaani means backwoods clan in Finnish. So I did do my
I can
studies.
resonate with that. Yes, my family. Yes.
The backwoods clan. I resonated with that right away as well.
Yes,
and like I said, all of their songs are either about alcohol, partying, or conquest. So a perfect way to me to end today's episode. Let's let you hear a little song. It's about a traditional drink. I don't know how Viking it is, but I think we've all had our share of it. This is called Vodka.
Your eyes are shining, you are the real man. Wash away your tears.
Well, I'll be damned. They sounded like Vikings.
They sound like big, burly, bearded dudes having a good time.
Bearded dudes having a good time. Damn, they nailed it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to be a Viking metal band, that's what you do.
Exactly. Like I said, all the other Viking metal bands that I found were very serious and dark and almost black
Talk
metal.
Talk about Valhalla. Like every song has to mention Valhalla.
I want the Viking metal band after you've won the war.
Yes, exactly.
That's what we got.
Yeah. We don't want like the pre-war where you get psyched up. And
I don't want the battle music. I want the after the battle celebration.
Because, they had some Viking women hanging out too. Because I've seen those Viking shows.
Exactly. Yeah, me too. So I know what that's all about.
Scandinavian Viking women. Yes.
This band's had 11 albums.
Good Lord.
11 albums of that.
They must be really hammered.
How much?
11 albums about drinking.
How much
alcohol
can you cover?
Well, you got to do research. Well, I don't know. It depends on how old you are. There was a time
albums worth.
We covered quite a bit from 1998 until whenever that was. I don't know.
If you want to check out this band, they just released their 11th album February the 5th. Of 2021, so it just came out.
I mean, the songs just write themselves. After Vodka, you've got Mead. So you do a whole album about
They probably
mead.
have a rock opera to
beer.
Mead. Yeah, definitely beer. They
were making beer back
so
then.
I'm actually going to go dig in just to see what drinks they're covering and how much partying these guys are doing, and how they're still alive, how they've made 11
maybe
albums.
a couple with turkey legs or something like that. Just to you got to dilute that alcohol occasionally.
Yeah, this is my new jam.
Okay, I like that. I think you should start. It's cold enough you can dress like a Viking and not really sweat too much right now.
And they have a violin guy, so I don't know if you noticed going all the way through, they got that traditional.
Yeah, I mean it's
folky,
equivalent to having a horn section.
Yeah,
if you're in a Viking band,
this is a
string section.
This is a European horn section.
Yeah,
it's strings.
I love it. What a happy song that was.
Good way to end the show.
That was good.
Yeah,
I need some vodka. I don't usually drink vodka, but now I'm going to go see if that's in the liquor cabinet.
So you out there listening to this, tell us what other crazy genres we need to cover and what bands we need to cover. So this is obviously a discovery, what we call a discovery episode. Some of these bands I had never heard of, some of them you have never heard of, genres that we are just dipping our toe into. This is the kind of stuff we love here.
Just scratching the surface. I mean, this is one reason I love this podcast is I learn without knowing that I'm going to learn. Because if you tell me I'm going to learn something, I tune you out. But if it sneaks up on me and I learn something, that's pretty cool.
Today we learned you something good.
Yeah, we did.
All right, well, let's get out of here. So we talked about, what did you say they called her?
Riddlin' Sue.
Riddlin' Sue. So let's end with maybe the song that was inspired from Riddlin' Sue.
I don't think I've heard this in a long time.
Here's a little Talk to Me for you. Later.
Interrupted, constant conversation thrown my way. Did I get a chance to tell you all about my day? Leaving nothing to imagine, description volunteered each breath. Now I find that I'm imprisoned, sentenced to be talked to death. Yeah, she wants to talk to me. She said, talk to me. Boy, won't you talk to me about nothing? She said, talk to me. Why won't you talk to me about every little thing that had come across the 14 corners of her mind? 14,000 words she felt the need to define. She opened a book, thought I'm free, then read aloud between the lines for me. I never wanted this, I never thought I'd miss my time alone with me. Alone with me, 'cause she wants to talk to me. She said, talk to me. Why won't you talk to me about nothing? She said, talk to me.